Yes, here we go. It's Sunday morning. It's the Sunday Blether, and there'll be nothing dignified about it when I am behind the wheel and David is absent. It'll be a naughty Sunday Blether, I think, today. My voice is a wee bit going. I was out all day in Edinburgh yesterday. It was my mum's birthday, so happy birthday to my mum, but I suffering a wee bit for it this morning. But I was up early, organised, ready to rock for the Blether. Wee bit of a clickbait headline there. I like all that, trigger some views, get that algorithm up, and then tell Regan I'm deadly serious as well after all that and see what he actually thinks and put him on the spot. Anyway, before we do all that good stuff, we need to do that. The housekeeping of the channel. Give us a wee like, give us a share. Slag the hair if you want to become a Policy Plus member, like so many of you have, such as Mickey Moynihan, like Monty. I'm after you, Monty. Like who else? We've got Charles Smith. It's just Mickey and Monty have been in the chat. There's Ali. Ali's in the chat. We've got Brian McCabe, Seamus Weatherall, Stephen Murdoch. All of them have become Policy Plus members. That was a bit of a mess. Danny O'Malley as well. It's $1.99 a month. It's totally optional. All the content's free. With all that being said, let's get cracking with today's show. Phil, I'll come to you first. How are we doing? You good?
Aye, mate. All good. Aye, it's all ready for another Sunday Blether. But obviously it's quiet at the moment. No Celtic news really because it's international break. But as I've said a few times in the last week on shows, where I was quite excited to watch Scotland because they're playing no bad at the moment. I'm a bit of a fair weather fan. I'm jumping on the bandwagon. It's they're like, I quite enjoy watching Scotland right now. So and another win on Friday night there. Hopefully they'll add another win on Tuesday against the old enemy. We'll see how they go on that one. But yeah, it's all good at the moment.
Brilliant, mate. No, I agree. I think when Scotland do well, I've got more of an inclination to try and watch them, albeit I still fell asleep during the Cyprus game on Friday morning. But notwithstanding that, I think when they're doing well, it does sort of pique your interest a wee bit more. I know, Regan, you're a diehard Tartan Army man. You've been enjoying the international break, or are you just missing the Celtic?
Aye, I mean, Steve Clarke's doing a fantastic job. I think he's got 10 wins in a row, so it's all doing well. I mean, for a Scotland manager to have that record, I think it's so impressive. And that guy we spoke about during the transfer window, I mean, Scott McTominay, how he can't get in Ten Hag's Man United team? I mean, what a player he's been for Scotland as well, Russell. No, I think Steve Clarke's doing a great job, and I'm sure we'll get into that during the show. But yeah, I think I'm looking forward to popping along to the Scotland game on Tuesday night, Russell. It's going to be good.
Oh, you going, are you?
Scotland v England, I'll be there, right?
Nice love it, mate. Love it. Nice one. You going, Phil, on Tuesday?
I'm not going to ticket for it, mate. Bit too late in the day to get a ticket now. They'll be going for extortionate prices, I'd imagine.
I would have thought so. So I'll make sure I watch that one. I'm not the biggest, I don't know. I suppose if we were at the Euros, I'd make a big deal of it. Once they're at the Euros, I would probably enjoy it. But I'm not the biggest international football fan. I just think it gets in the way a wee bit of the season. It breaks up, and Celtic were in a good place before that break. But obviously, when there is international football going on, you take a closer look. As I was saying there, it piques your interest a wee bit. And as the today's show's headline says, it's Steve Clarke with 11 wins in a row in qualifying as Scotland boss. Does that put him on a list? Now, we always want future planning at Celtic. We talk about this all the time. Don't be reactive, be proactive. So at no point is this anything to do with the current manager. There's nothing to do with the current manager. We all want Brendan to be there. No, me in particular, I've been shouting for the rooftops how big a Brendan believer I am. However, in the future, when we look at the sort of competitive record Clarke's got as Scotland boss, is that someone that would be on a person of interest list for future shortlists that might need to be drawn up if Brendan were to depart in the next few years at some point, which inevitably will?
Yeah, he's on you go, Ian.
On you go, mate.
No. So on you go, mate. I was just pretty much going to echo that.
I'm just going to say, definitely. I mean, for one thing, I mean, people say that Steve Clarke's quite a negative manager, Russell and Phil, but see, at the end of the day, he's only a negative manager because of the squad he's managed before. He's managed a lower end Scottish club and a lower end English club. I mean, do you think Steve Clarke's going to go in there and go, I'm going to go into West Brom and play some fantastic football, and I'm going to go into like a club other job, and I'm going to do like play rip roaring free scoring football, as Tony once said. But I mean, at the end of the day, like he's only doing what he's able to do. So I mean, like I think he'd be the perfect man for the Celtic job. I really do, because he knows Scottish football. He knows how to get the job done, and for him to have that record with Scotland as well, I think he'd be the perfect man for the job. And also, he's got the wee vested interest that Rangers fans don't like him either. So,
just a tad, yeah.
I think it's got all the mixtures of a really good mixture of Steve Clarke being a good Celtic manager, because I think one thing you need to bear in mind as well. I mean, we're talking about some of the squads he's beat. I think he's beat Denmark. He's beat Norway,
Spain.
Yeah, I mean, these are some world-class opposition that he's managed to beat. Also, he got a draw down at Wembley in the Euros. We almost beat Croatia. Hamden, if Luka Modric didn't score that last-minute goal to put Croatia 2-1 up. So I think with Steve Clarke's, he's got all the makings of a good Celtic manager, Russell, and I definitely wouldn't be against it, because I know people were talking about this Norwegian guy that they wanted in when yes, everybody was so engrossed with this guy. Look, he played Celtic off the park and he scored 3 goals. Like, see if that's your recollection for a Celtic manager. I mean, you can wave goodbye. I mean, at the end of the day, Steve Clarke has got plaudits and points to go with it. What is this Knutson got? He's got one good victory at Celtic Park where everybody's going nuts. Steve Clarke's got the evidence there to back him up. Like you said, he's got so many victories in a row against proper opposition, and we know how it went when we got a Norwegian manager before. That was only a stopgap until Rangers come back into the league, unfortunately. But at the end of the day, Russell, I think Steve Clarke is the perfect guy for Celtic.
Yeah, but I want everyone to be aware that we are talking like future tense here. We don't mean like tomorrow. Yeah. Just in case anyone's just jumped on the show and went, are they talking about replacing Brendan Rodgers? No, it's not quite like that. It's not quite like that. But yes, we think in the future, would he be a person of interest? I think so, with the results they have. Anyway, talking of managerial change, wasn't it all the goss yesterday, Phil? Twitter exploded, didn't it, with rumours rife. Mickey Beale's changed his colours from Rangers colours to Queen's Park Rangers colours, which
would be blue, white, and red.
The exact same colours.
Okay.
I've not looked at the photo yet, but as soon as I seen that, I thought, fucking hell, you must get a lot of money for these blue tick accounts on Twitter, mate. I'm considering it. Just post any old shite, do you know what I mean? There was then obviously the thing he'd unfollowed some sort of Rangers supporters group or something on Instagram, but it turns out he never actually followed them in the first place. But it was a rumour that caught fire. There was hundreds of thousands of views on certain rumours that there had been a story doing the rounds. Mickey Beale would be out. I think the reason I started doubting it is when they got themselves all carried away that they'd be getting Potter in charge. I don't know what Potter they're referring to, but it's definitely not going to be Graham Potter from down south unless they're just shaking that money tree again. But I can't imagine that is the case. It's interesting though. Over there, I think the drums are beating though for Mickey Beale to exit. I think it'll be a wee bit early, not from a Rangers point of view, Phil, but from a Celtic one. We want him there right up till he makes such an arse of it. We're out of sight.
Yeah, it's when I saw that tweet that exploded yesterday, the blue tick makes me suspicious because you do get basically revenue now from interactions on Twitter, and this guy had like 400 something replies and X amount of quote tweets and stuff, so he was probably raking it in. Funny enough, his Twitter handle also had ITK in it, ITK 1872, and I'm like, oh, for God's sake, he tried to advertise that he's pure in the know. But somebody, you didn't have to dig far into the replies, and somebody pointed out, mate, over a year ago you said that Eric Ten Hag to Rangers was a done deal, and that was your source that's never wrong. I just read through
really?
4 or 5 replies down, somebody put a screen grab saying, what about this for a year ago for your source that's never wrong? And it was like him saying, Eric Ten Hag to Rangers, a done deal. And obviously that was, so when I saw it, I just went, treat it with the pinch of salt it deserves. I think if he was to go, I think it'd be crazy because they've invested so much. Well, I want to say money. I mean, we don't know how much money they've invested. The club are saying one thing, and he's came out and said something different. But obviously, they've put him in, 9 or 10 players in the summer. For him to be gone after 4 games, I think that would be mental from their point of view. And can they afford to pay him off again? All these questions are going to come up. So I hope as well that he isn't gone, because I want him to be there. I want him to see us lifting trophies this season. For just to stick it to him, because he's the mouthiest manager I think I've ever encountered in Scottish football. And to be fair, with all these rumours flying around, I'm surprised that he himself hasn't taken to social media to mouth off in some way, because he can't keep his mouth shut. So, to be honest, I would be genuinely shocked if he was sacked this quickly. I really would.
Regan, I think there is a realisation amongst the fans that he's been a bad investment. I just think from our point of view, because he's such a prick as well, I want him to stay as long as possible and absolutely, ruin all the talk that he's given. I want him to prove beyond immeasurable doubt that it's all cheap talk and he cannot walk the walk. I want it to be cast iron. This was a disaster. I don't want him getting the opportunity to get bailed out by leaving early. You want Brendan to take him to school. You want him to absolutely massacre, all the work that Beale's done, because I don't rate this guy in the slightest. I think he came in with an attitude that is unlikable. I think he had pops at us. Colin, remember he couldn't say Celtic's name. He couldn't say Kyogo's name the other week. He called Postecoglou lucky. There was all sorts said about budgets, etc. He has came and found every excuse possible for Celtic success. He has never looked within himself once. And now the drums are beating, mate, because their own fans, the Angry Bears, mate, can now see this guy's been talking for day one a load of old shite. And I think they know it's coming back to roost that this guy is a fraud of a manager. Long may he reign.
I think the biggest problem for the whole the Rangers support is, Russell, that they all bought into his talk because they thought he's been more open with the press, he's been more open with the fans. But see now, Russell, it's like he's a bit of a comedy act, to be honest, because I think he's saying a lot of these things, but then he's not backing up. He's not backing up. See if you can walk the walk, you need to talk the talk, and you need to back yourself up and say, right, see if I'm talking a lot of crap to the press on a Friday, I need to back it up on the Sunday when I go to St Johnstone and don't get me here. And I think a great point that you made the other night, this is no Mickey Beale that's been in charge for 4 games. I think some pundits are getting confused. Some pundits are saying Michael Beale just started. He's not been in the job that long.
Look at Angie's start. Look, that's the one that really gets me, Regan, is when they compare it to Angie's first season. I'm like, wait, then how?
Yeah.
Michael Beale as Rangers manager played 24 games or something last year. This is not a guy that came in with 5 games to go to save their season. But that's a guy that played the majority of their fixtures last season. And like, I don't like many Rangers managers, but see Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, I thought he conducted himself really well. He was always open and honest. He always says that if Celtic won, he always says the better team won. And he was always gracious in his defeat. He was always good with Ange. He was always good with the club. I think that's also what you need as well. You don't need all this daft talk. And I think some Rangers fans are now seeing through him, because at the end of the day, Russell, I hope this guy stays in long like you two have spoke this morning. But see if they drop points against St Johnstone, I'm talking about a 1-1 draw. I don't think he'll survive by the time 5 o'clock Saturday night. He'll be away because somebody says on Twitter last week it was Michael Beale's birthday. Rangers never said happy birthday to Michael Beale.
Full on COVID season here. Never went for it.
They didn't wish him happy birthday.
So, this could spell trouble. This could spell trouble.
I love it, Regan, with right out.
Anyway, that's enough of that. I'm just trying to put it into the melting pot. But anyway, in terms of Rangers, I think as much as you want them to stay in the job as long as possible, see, then the day if they drop any sort of points on Saturday morning, he'll be away by tea time on Saturday night because they would. I think it's whereas you guys is. I think it's because of social media. It's because of social media. Probably now these days that's how clubs know. They I know people won't admit it, but Celtic and Rangers look on social media to see what the fans are saying.
Yeah.
They definitely do.
Oh yeah, they'll be acutely aware, I suppose is the term that we could use on that one. You can't avoid it. It's such a huge part nowadays, and they'll have the consensus. I mean, if they didn't have social media, they could have just judged the noise at full time last Sunday when we beat them. I think that was quite a ringing endorsement of what they feel about him right now. But no, it's all over. So I mean, I hope he doesn't. I would like him to stay a bit longer because one, I think he's a bit rubbish as a manager anyway. I don't think he's all that for all the hype he gets. And yeah, he is a clown with all the stuff he says. So it'd be good to throw it all back in his face.
But want that highlights reel of stupid comments to build up still a wee bit more, Phil, don't we? I was going to ask you this. Now, you're the historian of the channel, mate. You are the Celtic wiki of the bus.
Okay.
Talk to me about reactions after the derby game. Now, I know it was a whole week ago and things, but we can still marvel at it. Talk to me about the reaction after the game from their supporters. Obviously, there was no Celtic fans in the stadium. Mm-hmm. That was as toxic in my eyes, anyway. Or from what I can remember, that seemed as toxic a reaction to a defeat that I can remember seeing it in a long time, if ever, after a derby. Now, not just that. Contrast and compare it with Celtic Park the week before. And suddenly you're looking at two sets of fans a week apart reacting. No, Celtics was not as universal, don't get me wrong. It was a smaller amount of fans, no two ways. But you're seeing a more energy, I think, that's negative from the fans towards the management teams. I'm not sure if Rodgers had got a bad result, what the aftermath would have been like from our point of view, based on what we've seen the week before after the draw with St Johnstone. But from their point of view, when I look at that reaction, I think it's very, very difficult to come back from that. Rodgers knew he had the opportunity with great risk. Was Ibrox? It was a daunting fixture for a lot of us all week, and there was a lot of pessimism. There was a lot of worry about it. But with that came actually opportunity to save your own bacon. Before you knew it, you seen a manager back with the aviators on. Obviously placed deliberately in the glove box if we were to get a result. Yep. You've seen a man just finding his swagger, getting back in his groove. And that's been a perfect tonic for what we had the week before. They've had 2 weeks now, or they'll have 2 weeks to mull over what was a very, very angry baying mob at Ibrox. You can't deny it. I mean, Sutton was getting his digs in about the Angry Bears. That reaction, in your mind, have you ever seen a reaction as toxic as that?
No, that's easily the worst. I mean, we've had games against them in the past. Rodgers' first term, we smashed them 5-1 in the first meeting that season, and that didn't even get that type of reaction for their fans. And then a few months later, we beat them 1-0 in a League Cup semi-final, and all the narrative coming out of that was, oh, well, we're a lot closer than you think. That 5-1 game was a fluke. So it's like this game, though, a 1-0 defeat, 4 games into the season. There's still 34 games to go. And that meltdown, I don't know if it's just because they were so overconfident and it blew up in their face, because everything was built to suit them going into that game with the no fans thing. They can dress it up all they want about why they originally lowered the allocations in the first place all those years ago and why it's got to this stage. Ultimately, they've started it because they didn't like us lording it over them in their stadium. That's just the facts about it. So they've got their way. They got no Celtic fans in the stadium. It's a full bear pit, if you want to call it that, of very angry ones at that. And it's just crazy. It's going into it, they thought Celtic, that 0-0 draw. They've lost a cup game to Kilmarnock. A lot of Celtic fans don't like Brendan Rodgers anyway, and they're just waiting for him to mess up. It's all in our favour. And yeah, I think it's just the overconfidence that they had going in. They just couldn't believe that it had gone wrong, and already they're throwing the towel in, which is quite ironic that they chant no surrender. And they clearly are surrendering, I think, after just 4 games. Because, yeah, if they do look at the bigger picture, there's only 4 points in it, and they're only starting the season. So why are they, demanding change now? Is it like they've clearly saw through what Michael Beale, all the shit Michael Beale's been spouting. This is him clearly starting to. We've been telling them for a while now. And yeah, this just last week was like a volcano erupting. It was incredible scenes to witness that. Like that's a ridiculous reaction. If it was 4 games to go, I could understand. But 4 games into a season, it's a mental reaction for them to have.
Delicious. I love it.
I listened to a guy last week on the Scottish forums who basically said that he wanted Alfredo Morelos back and Ryan Kent back because he thought the level of signings this season weren't up to the standard of Alfredo Morelos. So that just gives you a flavour of what they think of their transfer window, Russell. Because if they want Alfredo Morelos back and Ryan Kent back because they're thinking their transfer window's not up to scratch, then they're definitely in for trouble.
Mm-hmm.
There is trouble about. There is no two ways about it. It's amazing what difference a week can make. I think that's what we called the Monday Club show the other week. You know, what a difference a week can make, and it is fascinating. I think the more unrest there, I think there is a dawning of reality as well. That I've said this before. We, as a supporter, because I think sometimes there's an inferiority complex for some reason. And when Rangers sign a player for $1 million, $2 million, we instantly decide they're first team players for them. They're going to be great for them. We sign a player for $1 to $2 million, we instantly go, it's a fucking project. They're not going to be any good. We need to tool up for the season. We are subconsciously holding ourselves to a far higher standard, far and away from what they're doing. We just don't realise it at times. And we actually end up as fans putting pressure on our own team more than what the actual thought process is telling you. Read between the lines of what you're saying. You're backing them because you're actually getting a fright they've spent over £1 million on a player. Whereas if we spend $3 million on a player, even we go, it's no first team ready though. Look at the difference in what you're saying. You're actually giving like kudos to how good the Celtic team is in comparison. You just don't realise it. So maybe we shouldn't be always all that too surprised, Phil, when you get derby wins like we did. And maybe, just maybe, after a few weeks, it's took a few games, like it does with most managers, to get back into the groove. And now, with that result in the bag, I fully expect Celtic now to motor on in the next sequence of fixtures. And by the time the next derby comes in, which will be the New Year one, I would expect Celtic to have more than a 4-point gap, if I'm totally honest.
Yeah, I think so. It's something I've been hammering home for the last week. The fixture changes that are coming up with their Europa League schedule. They're going to have to play on Sundays, 6 weekends going forward between now and the next time we play them. We will likely be playing before them those weekends. So it puts the pressure back on them. You know, this is a team where their captain not too long ago said in one of their match day programs just before COVID happened about how they hate pressure on them. This group of players don't like the fans putting pressure on them and so on. And last season we saw when Michael Beale did come in, yes, contrary to other stories, he did start last year, not in the summer there. He did come in and they were picking up points. These games that Giovanni Van Bronckhorst was dropping points in for them, he was suddenly turning around. So, but they were playing before us a lot of times and we would just put the gap back to 9 points. But now we're going to see over the next few months a few moments where they will be put behind. They'll have to play behind us. They'll have to play on the Sunday. We'll have a Saturday game, 3 o'clock and so on, because they've got to move for the Europa League. I think there's one weekend where we're getting moved to a Sunday because of the Europa League, and it's because we're playing Aberdeen. Aberdeen are obviously in the Conference League.
They're in the Conference,
so that's one. So 5 out of these 6 European weeks we're going to play before them. So I think that'll put pressure on. Plus their involvement in the League Cup. Because I would still expect them, despite the turmoil that's going on, I would expect them to obviously beat Livingston in the quarter-final. They'll be in the semi-final, which would be played on a weekend, and the finals played on a weekend. So that'd be 2 fixtures that would get moved. So again, there's a chance there that
That's true.
It depends who's obviously playing us as well, because if we're playing a team that's also involved in the League Cup that weekend, then our game could get moved. But it could all add up to more games being put on the back burner for them. So by the time we play them, I would fully expect it to be at least 4 points. Whether it's due to they've got games in hand or they have dropped some points in the Europa League. I think it's going to be crucial these European weeks coming up.
Well, I agree with you. I think when you look at that, Regan, it's no longer going to be, the headline each weekend before Celtic go into their game on the Sunday or on the Saturday afternoon that Rangers ramp up the pressure. It's going to be them having to do the chasing, and already with a cushion that we can actually extend that gap at the top more weekends than not, as Phil's rightly pointing out, based on the European competition and based on the fact they're still in that domestic competition as well. That is interesting from that point of view, because I think your whole mindset changes. 4 points behind sounds a bit of a mountain when it's Celtic that you're chasing, you know. We tend to do okay once we get our noses in front in league title races. Let's be real here. When was the last time Celtic were overhauled in a league title race?
Good point.
Fucking long time
Well,
ago.
I'll have a think about it while Regan's answered. I'll try.
Yeah, you have a wait there. Come on, Phil. Come on.
Oh.
But Regan, not just withstanding that, when it's 4 points and then suddenly Celtic are on a Saturday, the ones ramping up said pressure, and suddenly it's 7 points behind, and all you're doing is trying to claw a 7 point gap back to a 4 point gap. That is the sort of deflating motivation that is exactly what we're after for this team. Don't give them a chink of light. Don't give them any sort of hope whatsoever. Let them go into the game negative mindset as possible. And I think that gap, as I say, by the time the New Year fixture comes around, the New Year derby, if you like, I think that gap will be bigger than 4 points, to be honest.
Do you guys remember when Ange Postecoglou first came in, Rangers got in the Europa League? They got in the Europa League, and I said to a lot of my pals, I says, them being in Europe on a Sunday is always going to help us, and I think it's the totally same here. The only thing I would throw into the works is possibly Sky TV will find a way to put us on just before them, but surely not. Is there a lot of times that we
There's one fixture that's been moved by Sky for TV. It's nothing to do with the European week, and it's a game against Hearts that we're playing at Tynecastle, which you would expect to get TV coverage. So that one's been moved, but if we're playing on Saturday 3 o'clock at Celtic Park, that won't get moved by Sky. If they
is there a lot of times during that period that we're at home, Phil?
Aye, there is.
That's great, then. That's great, because that means we can ramp up the pressure right away. Because see, I know people say that during the COVID season we'll get 3 games in hand, we'll be absolutely fine. But I spoke to you about when me and you spoke on the phone about this, Phil. But see, when you're, let's say, you get 3 games in hand, so it's only 4 points or something. Like that's okay saying that in principle, but see when you go to like say Aberdeen and you're 10 points behind, but you've still got 3 games in hand, it's a totally different situation. The pressure starts to get to you. I mean, that's only natural as well, because at the end of the day, I don't think this Rangers team are in great shakes either, so I don't think they'll be totally confident, and they know that their fans are going to be right on top of them, because at the end of the day, if they get to a stage where Celtic are playing well under Brendan Rodgers, which you totally expect them to do, because, well, let's not forget as well, we've had a lot of players injured for a lot of times. We've still got Rio to come back. We've got Matt O'Reilly, who's probably been the best player this season so far. We've still got Palma to come in. Still got Bernardo. We've still got Marco Tilio. We've got Russell's favourite player, Mikey Johnson. So we've got a lot of players in that squad that surely can do a job for us in Scotland. And we've got a lot of time to kind of show off the squad, because, like you guys were saying a minute ago, see, in terms of that squad that Celtic were going into, I mean, I said in the group chat, I don't think we'll do well today, last Sunday, and it just shows you how quickly things can change, because that was a squad where you looked at it, David Turnbull in the midfield. David Turnbull didn't play well at Aberdeen. I was watching that game and he kept getting overrun. I thought in the midfield, I thought it'd be too weak, but David Turnbull showed up. Scales at the back, I wasn't sure about that. Lagerbielke, I wasn't sure about that. From what I've seen at Rugby Park, Taylor wasn't playing too well. So I think it had all the makings of probably a Rangers victory, but for us to go out there and win at Ibrox, I think psychologically that's massive for both sides, because what you guys were saying there as well, a lot of Rangers fans expected to rock up there, 50,000. It was going to be a victory for them, because they wanted to, like, see, if you look at every derby victory they've had over the past 6 years, right? Every derby victory has been when Celtic have already won the league, or when it was, I think they won one time when Steven Gerrard went and he went to the camera and
the bees at Celtic Park. Yep.
He put his fist up. Remember that one?
Yeah.
And that was one where we went to Dubai for 2 weeks, and then we come back and we won the league with 10 points. Remember
Yep.
Neil Lennon put Edward and Griffiths up front, and we played some brilliant football. We beat Motherwell at 5 goals, and both of those players were amazing during that time. So
Yeah.
I think sometimes a lot of these things can be psychological, because if you even look at even the Rangers players, for example, I bet you a lot of them have got a kind of reality check now to go, right, because see the pressure cooker, like from Sunday until now, that'll just ramp up even more, because like I think Neil Lennon said that a few times. See, when you go off to the international break, that can be the worst time, because see if you get beat, you're getting so angry because you're just wanting a game to come straight after it to get it out of your mind. But see, because they've had, like, say, 12 to 14 days to stew on it and then to play, that can play on the players as well. They can get angry.
Yep.
And I wouldn't be surprised if St Johnson got a point, because St Johnson, as much as I hated their goalkeeper at Celtic Park because they kept wasting time, I'm sure they're kind of saying, if we do the same kind of setup we did at Celtic Park, we can definitely do well in the match, because they would have seen the fragility in the Rangers squad. Definitely, because I know Roger Hannah said that John Souttar's going to be the player of the season last season and all that. But I did. I think John Souttar's been a real weak link for Rangers the last couple of years, and he definitely was last week. So I think, and we know what Tavernier's like as well. I mean, I heard the Rangers fan on arguing the other day, and that guy's not a captain. So I think that everything.
No one is safe. No one is safe. Regan is just getting it laldy.
Aye.
Scatterguns out.
They're all getting it.
I think everything's brewing towards there's too many coops. There's too many people around the brothel, because at the end of the day, Celtic are going to go. I think we'll win the league by 10 points. There's my prediction. I think we'll win the league by 10 points.
Yeah, double figures. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. It's more than doable. But yeah, absolutely no one's safe there. That was almost Regan's moment. You could say, where he was a bit like this. You, and you. Fuck off.
We used to do a thing on the Sunday Blether where Mark would just talk for 5 minutes about things that are annoying him this week. That was Regan filling in for that spot then. Before Judgement Day became its own thing, Mark had his own wee 5-minute segment on Sunday Blether where he just ranted about something. So Regan just did that there. So there we go.
That was good. That was good, mate. James Tavernier got it. John Souttar got it at one point. It's brilliant. But it's amazing as well when you look at the timing of that fixture. That was all set up for it to be a nightmare for us. Not the other way around. Indeed. It was us who'd had the real weekend of negativity the weekend before. They had went out, yes, at the Champions League, and they got hammered, to be fair, away from home. But to be honest with you, I think that would have all been forgiven and forgotten had they got the 3 points they expected to get that weekend. They were overwhelming favourites. We had a depleted squad. Then you factor in the international break. This was full of jeopardy for Celtic. And we got a manager to take charge of that situation in a cool, calculated manner. And that is what he did. He delivered a fantastic tactical display in the first half, albeit I think there's a wee bit debate in the live chat about the bizarre standing off of or sitting off, if you like, Callum McGregor. No one can understand that. I think Brown Warrior is right to highlight it. But not just that. I thought our containing job in the first half, we nullified and we turned it into a blunt fixture. And then when we got our opportunity, we pounced. The second half, we knew we'd have to roll with the punches a wee bit. We knew there'd be a bit of an onslaught from then. But we looked extremely dangerous on the counter as well. In fact, I was surprised we didn't win the game 2-0 in the end. When you look at the real clear-cut chances, it was Celtic that created them. So the mood music's now completely shifted. We're now going into the rest of this campaign full of optimism. Suddenly the Champions League draw, you're looking at it going, it's quite exciting that we're in this group and we think we've got a fighting chance of getting points, not plaudits this year.
Aye.
And I don't think Brendan will be offered the same opportunity of being allowed to just get plaudits. I think he will be held to a standard of we need to get points. So I think when we look at the Champions League group, we're looking now at the league table. All the optics, Phil, are now looking a wee bit rosier from a Celtic persuasion, aren't they?
Just a tad. Again, the mood music definitely changed, and that gubbin they got off PSV was probably the key point where it did start to change all of a sudden, and we just added to their misery. Interesting you brought that up as well. We've talked about Celtic fans' mentality, where it's all for a lot of fans, it's all about the domestic stuff. You're right. See, if they had beat us last week, that PSV trouncing wouldn't have mattered. Stuff again, same with a lot of our fans again, where if we'd taken a doing in Europe for like the midweek, we would forget it if we beat Rangers at the weekend, because that is the be all and end all. So it's quite interesting that both sets of fans have got a similar parallel in that when it comes to the mentality towards certain fixtures and certain competitions. But obviously we've got the European stuff coming up. This is this group more favourable than last year's one? We said that last year we couldn't have asked for a more favourable group. To me, it's like, well, the three teams, you look at last year, you go, Real Madrid, well, we're going to be light years better than everyone in it. But this one, I think the other three teams that are there, I still think Atletico Madrid are the team that will win it, but I still think there's a chance that all three teams can take points off each other, and that's what we've got to capitalise. That's what we've got to make sure that we're still in the race here. We can't have a scenario where we're 3 games in and still sitting on 0 points. We have to be making sure that we are in about it to get, because third place is the bare minimum here. We've got to get, we can't have another season where we've got no European football after Christmas. We've got to try and get into that knockout stage, whether it is Europa League, that we finish third, drop into the Europa League and see how far we can go there, or we do get into the riches of the Champions League second round. We need to make sure that we're in about it, because this group, I think, could be quite open once the fixtures start getting played. Feyenoord, even though they were the pot 1 team, probably the team that you would have wanted from pot 1, them or Benfica. So I know it could be famous last words and we could end up getting trounced by Feyenoord, but realistically, when you looked at the 8 teams in that pot, Feyenoord were the ones that you wanted, so we got that one. So Atletico Madrid, me and David when we did the transfer special night, we talked about the Champions League group, and David said a lot of washed up players there. That could be famous last words. I wouldn't say they were washed up, but they are going to be the toughest team to overcome. Diego Simeone is, of course, a master of the dark arts when it comes to football. The way his team sets out, I'm worried about us getting, buying into a few of their shenanigans. That seems to be a weakness for Celtic over the years. And yeah, Lazio, I know some fans say, we beat Lazio home and away a couple of years ago, but again, it's a different manager, different situation, different teams. We really hope that Brendan has, the word is pragmatism. His first spell as Celtic manager, he was very much, we'll go into the Champions League and we'll play like we're playing domestically, and it left us massively open. He's had obviously a run at Leicester, managing them, and he got them to semi-final in Europe, having to navigate some European fixtures. So you like to think that we're going into these games, we'll be a bit more cautious and not as a case of we'll just try and dominate play, because against these teams we're going to struggle. So we're going to have to change tact here. But if we get it right and if it does click, then I can see us being in amongst the mix here and having European football after Christmas. I do think that the signs are there and the chances are there for us.
Yeah, I think in one way, shape or form, Regan, I think Phil's absolutely right. It's got to be European football after Christmas that's the goal. Whether it's second place in the group, top of the group, or if it's third. I think there's benefits to it all. I think you're right, Phil, in what you're saying there as well. The group strikes you instantly for looking at it that all the teams could be taking points off each other.
Yeah.
So if that is the case, are we going to get back to a situation finally where we start holding Celtic to the standard that we used to and going, win all your 3 home games and you're in with a chance. Target victory in the 3 home games. I don't think we felt like that last year, whether people like it or not. I don't think we went into the group thinking we could get 3 home wins from 3. I look at that group, and whilst I see very, very difficult fixtures, I also see opportunity. And that fills me with hope. And I think if we can go in with a mindset of going, let's get maximum points at fucking home. If we could pin something in Rotterdam in the first game, get a draw there, something like that, or albeit obviously we want to win. But if you can get something from Rotterdam, what a springboard that then gives you as well for the rest of the campaign. I think there's a real possibility of Celtic getting the points required this time around that could see us in Europe after Christmas. So here what I will ask you with that in mind, Regan. Would you prefer to go into the Europa League and have an opportunity of breaking what will be a 20-year knockout fixture duck in Europe? Or would you rather make the last 16 of the Champions League and still be mixing up with the big boys? But with that, obviously, coming less of a likelihood of further progression in Europe.
I think Brendan will want to get in the last 16 of the Champions League. I think that's what every big club wants to do. I think,
I agree.
as much as I don't like them, I think the board will want in the last 16 for the money as well. And I think the Celtic supporters want to be in the Champions League as well. I think the big thing for us is basically, I think people are drawn too much into Atletico Madrid. If you watch Atletico Madrid in general, they're quite a negative team. So I think that makes you. I think that'll suit us. I mean, I watch a lot of Spanish football, Russell, and so sorry about the train going by. I don't know if you can hear it. Anyway,
I thought you were about to take off there, Regan.
No. So I think Atletico are quite a negative team. If you watch them against like even a lower to end team, they always get 1-0 up and then they get kind of edgy. They kind of defend for their life, scrapping and stuff like that. And I think that'll suit us because Brendan don't want us to play flowing football, fast attacking, hopefully. And I think that could play into that could play into us. I mean, it's only a few years ago that we beat. I know it probably is a clip, maybe 12 years ago we beat Man United and AC Milan and people like that. But you don't go into these fixtures with fear. And I think if you look at Feyenoord and Lazio, I mean, it could be Rotterdam or anywhere, Liverpool or Rome. But I mean, at the end of the day, Lazio and Feyenoord are basically two teams that would be in the Europa League or the Conference League. So we need to be realistic to say to ourselves, we played, we see over the past 5 or 10 years, we played Lazio in the second competition. We also played AZ Alkmaar for Angie's playoff, who are better not too far off Feyenoord. So I don't think it's a group to fear. I really don't.
No, me neither, pal. And I actually take your point on. It does have kind of full Europa League vibes. I mean, don't get me wrong. If you got a group like that in Europa League, you'd be going, for fuck's sake, that was the hardest group by a mile that you could get in the Europa League, which I also take that on board. I just feel like I look at it and I just see opportunity. The Lazio one, because it's fresh in the memory now, albeit it's probably a different set of players that both teams have since we last beat them. Let's be real, because teams evolve that quick these days and change and rotate so fast. It's such a quick pace sort of environment, football now. It'll be different sets of managers. It'll be completely different sets of players. But because of the name, you just can't help but give yourself a chance. Because we know we beat them home and away a few years ago. So instantly you're going, right, okay, bring them on. Nothing to fear there. Rome conquered once, let's conquer it again. Feyenoord, I think out of all the top seeded teams, that's who you'd have picked.
Definitely.
I think that is who you'd have picked. There's somebody dismissing them in any way, shape, or form. You've got to play one of them, though. You've got to have a pot one team. Now make your mind up. Which one would you choose? I think Feyenoord would have been the most popular one to have chosen from. Atletico Madrid, yes, massive name. Yes, a Champions League regular club. I think they've been in it 12 years in a row, something like that.
Aye, they tend to be in all the time,
Aye, but again, if you were going to get one of the heavyweights, which was inevitable as well, one of the heavyweight European forces are going to be in your group, they'd probably be high up on the list that you'd have chosen as well. I think there's a lot to be excited about. By no means does this mean we're going to qualify. By no means does this mean it's going to be third. But I think what we do have with this group is real opportunity to go, they might take points off them. They might take points off them. And actually, we might be able to do something in this group as well and capitalise. I'm excited by that.
I think as well the way the fixture list has came out in this, we played 2 of the home games in the first 3 fixtures. So by the time that we're at the halfway point, I think we'll have a pretty good feeling of where this is going to go, because we start away in Rotterdam and then we play Lazio at home and Atletico Madrid at home. That's the first 3 fixtures. So 2 of the home games in the first half. So yeah, we'll get an idea then, because again, it's the home games are going to be huge. How many times have we said it on here about we're sick of the tourist element? We're sick of the players coming away from Celtic Park after beating us and giving it all that, we really loved our trip to Celtic Park, 10 out of 10 on TripAdvisor, would recommend to a friend. It's like, come on, man, we're sick of all that nonsense now. We need to get it back to a fierce mentality. Regan brought it up there about, what we used to do to teams. Teams were scared coming to Celtic Park. First year I had the season ticket was the year we beat Milan, Shakhtar and Benfica, and then gave Barcelona an absolute heart attack in the second round. Took the lead twice against them that night. They beat us 3-2 in the end, but we made them fucking work for it. And I was talking to David about this on a show a couple weeks ago. I came away for that game that night genuinely gutted that we didn't get a result against Barcelona. Could you imagine that nowadays? Gutted we didn't get a result against Barcelona because of the way we've been in Europe for the last few years. A lot of fans are just conditioned to just go, it's Barcelona, we're never going to compete with them. But under Strachan in 2008, we nearly beat them that night, and it was like, give them a heart attack there. So we've got to get Celtic Park back to that, mentality where teams are genuinely afraid to go out in that park. It's intimidating. And the first 3 fixtures here, we've got 2 home games. We've got to capitalise on it, because, when you mentioned there about the Pot 2 teams as well, when I think about it, you're right, because Pot 2 had teams like Real Madrid in it, Man United, Arsenal, I think Borussia Dortmund were in Pot 2 as well. So when you actually looked at all the Pot 2 teams, you'd go, Atletico Madrid is probably the most favourable one, and perhaps. So we've done okay there in that sense as well. So there is a huge opportunity here. And to have some sort of European football after Christmas is the goal. And Regan, you're 100% right. Brendan Rodgers will be looking at it and going, we want to be in the Champions League. It's because you can't plan for finishing third in the group. All you can do is go out and try and get as many points as possible. And if you finish third, great. If you finish second, even better. But no, he'll be looking at it with a mentality of, no, we want to be at the big table. We want to be in the Champions League second half of the season. So that's the best mentality to have. Just go out and just try and aim for that. Because if you do put enough points on the board, then at the very least you will get third place, and that's something for us to work with. So it's a huge opportunity ahead for Brendan here. So fingers crossed we get it right and we're not in the depths of despair after 3 games into this group going, God, where did it all go wrong? Hopefully not. Hopefully it's all rosy in a month and a half's time.
I've got a question for you too. Do you think Brendan Rodgers will be scrutinised a bit more because of the group?
I think he'd be scrutinised more because he's held to a higher standard. Full stop. Yeah. I think if he had the group from last year, he wouldn't have got away with 2 points.
Agreed.
What do you think, Regan?
I think that's right. And also, I think because of his open press conferences, he said that he wanted to do well in Europe as well. So he's then batting that stick against himself, because he's then said he wants to do well in Europe. One thing I did notice that I don't know if you guys noticed, I did hear you say, Russell, a few weeks ago about Brendan Rodgers has not got his coaching staff in. I read the other day that he's brought in Glenn Driscoll from Liverpool.
Is he what is he, like the sports science department or something like that? I think he is. I don't think he's necessarily somebody that sits on the bench at the games, but he's in the back room anyway.
Just because I read the other day that he brought in Glenn Driscoll, I thought, is Glenn Driscoll actually, is he doing anything with the training or anything? I wasn't sure.
I think he's in that whole sports science department. I do remember the name Glenn Driscoll. He was there with him before and he's came back with him. But he's one of these guys that works in one of the departments. I don't think he's sitting on the bench with Kuehl and Kennedy and all that at the games. He's one of the ones that's in the offices. But yeah, I think it's sports science is his thing, which is huge obviously in football nowadays.
Yes, final talking point though for the afternoon. CJ is in. Great to have you on the bus, CJ. He's looking forward to seeing Yang and Palma filling in for what looks like the injured Liel Abada. I mean, the injury list just keeps growing. Everyone wanted to blame Brendan for injuries. I remember, if you recall, we had this before when Brendan was here last time. Well, unless he was over in the Israel training camp, then he cannot take the blame for this one. Abada out means opportunity for the people. I've said opportunity about 4,000 times a day. I don't know why. But Yang and Palma, Certainly from the wee glimpses we've seen of Yang, he's a very direct, very exciting player.
Mhm.
Bags of tricks, bags of energy. Final output, well, that'll be worked on. That'll be the rough area of his game. That I think that'll be we're there to fine tune.
Yep.
And he'll get given opportunity. Fucking hell, if I say that again. He'll get given chances. He'll get given chances to do that as the season goes on. Palma looks the oven-ready one though for the first team. He'll be licking his lips at the opportunity. He'll be licking his lips at the chance.
The chance.
to take Abada's place in the team. And what I think what it does is when players do drop out injured, it's important to have that depth squad, Regan. And sometimes you need that bit of luck that might land in your lap in the case of Palma, where with Abada out, there's the space in the team that is ready-made for him to take. Firstly, how big a blow is it to have Abada out? But then talk to me about the positives and the excitement that you've got for Yang and Palma coming in.
I mean, I know the judge doesn't rate Abada much, but I think Abada's a great player. I think he scored a lot of big goals against Rangers. He did well in Europe, so I think Abada's a class player. And you need to remember as well, he's only 20 years old?
Definitely in that region.
Well, I think in terms of Abada, I think he's a great player, and I think he's somebody that we'll miss. But like you said, I think because we've got Palma and Yang, I think it's a great thing. Great depth for Brendan to have. One thing that we need to do against Dundee, though, Russell, is we need to get the first goal very early, because we don't want to do the same thing that we did against St Johnstone, where I'm sitting in Celtic Park and I'm shooting the ball in and I'm not happy. We need to get that goal early to settle the whole place down. It's not just the players, it's the people in the stands as well, because we don't want to get another afternoon where they're sitting 10 men behind the ball, we're playing slow football and stuff like that. I mean, so I think it's the squad depth is actually looking not too bad for the wingers. One thing that I want to ask you, has there been a time scale for Abada? Because if he's out too long, then I'll be worried, but I don't know how long it is.
Not entirely aware of the time scale of his absence, to be honest with you. But Phil, with Abada out, are you excited to see Yang and Palma? I mean, I think from what we've seen for Yang, he's probably been unfairly sort of, because it wasn't Ange who's brought him in. It's been under the Brendan era, if you like.
Yep.
It's not been treated with the same warm reception. I don't think that signing that had we seen the sort of the early signs from under Ange that we've seen from under Brendan, I think he'd be getting more, maybe not rave reviews, but a lot more optimism and a lot more excitement from the fans. Palma came in late in the window. We can debate till the cows come home that was a deal that could have been done earlier or not. It's irrelevant now. He is here. We expect him with the number 7 jersey to be someone that is competing for a first team slot straight for the get-go. That's been made a bit easier by the Abada injury. I'm quite excited to see what we can get from these guys.
I'm very excited to see Palma. I've got a funny feeling he will be a phenomenal player for us, because we're talking about the whole Jota replacement, and people are like, oh, we've not really placed with Jota. We don't know yet. We've not seen this boy in action yet. We didn't know. Nobody knew anything about Jota really before we signed him. So totally it's like true. you don't know things. So, but going by from what we've seen in the clips, that he looks like he's a set piece specialist, and my God, do we need that in our team? The amount of corners that we just seem to waste, and then free kicks on the edge of the area. When was the last time we had a?
I was just about to ask you that. What was our last direct free kick?
That was one Lee Griffiths maybe scored. It was that long ago. Who knows? It's that long.
Charlie Mulgrew.
I feel like David Turnbull might have scored one in the COVID season with the empty stands. I've got a feeling David Turnbull may have put one in against like Wheel or something like that, or Hibs in one of the disastrous games.
That was the one where we scored in the last minute, and then they scored again, remember? They scored in the last minute.
Try to forget, but I remember that now. Yes, aye. Oh, dreadful. But
so here's a question then. Did we score direct from a free kick under Postecoglou domestically? I'll quickly change that to
I did. CJ's
just put Jota at Real Madrid, so I'll say domestically. Did we score a direct free kick under Postecoglou domestically?
Oh,
that would be fascinating if we didn't.
I'm trying to think.
I feel like we did. The only one that springs to mind that's not direct for the free kick because it hit the wall and it came back to him was when we beat Dundee United 9-0. Juranovic scored one where the free kick hit the wall and it came back to him and he sort of hit it on a half volley into the bottom corner, but that wouldn't count as being direct for the free kick.
I think David Turnbull scored one against St Mirren. We beat them 5-0.
That's possible then. That could be a chance because Turnbull seems to have had a few over the years, but they're few and far between. And I say corners, scoring from a corner, direct from a header, they happen very rarely. So if Palma can be a guy that can consistently deliver good balls into the box from set pieces, then that will aid us massively. Because there's a part of our game that nothing, we don't seem to get much luck from. As Regan said there, if we could turn up with Dundee next week and it's passed it sideways, 10 men behind the ball, every time we get a corner, you'd like to think that we can cause them a few problems, but if we can't get the ball by the first man, which seems to happen a lot for corners, then it renders it useless. So hopefully Palma can give us that part of our game because, we're sadly lacking it. And, it's a huge chance for the boy. And this is, come in and take it. And I think he will. And Yang, you're right about just a wee bit of refinement, a wee bit of rawness there, but the early signs of him are... He's very direct. He's very direct. I like that.
We can see with the likes of a Yang. That's a great point for when you look at someone like Yang. We know what we're getting when we're getting players for a certain fee at a certain age. They need fine tuned. That's where Celtic come in. That is what we do with players. We're there to go. We'll put the finishing touches. We'll, if it's a rough diamond, then we'll shine it up and we'll punt it on for more money. It won't work with them all. It is a model that will frustrate the life of us if we don't see us pushing on in other departments. But what we can't deny is, with someone like Brendan there, you'd back him more times than not to get someone like that to a level that's firstly Celtic quality and then one that you can maybe make a hell of a lot of money on. I think what we've seen for Yang is definitely rough around the edges, but definitely someone that you could work with and go, I can make him better. With the Palma one, Palma comes in, Regan, very quickly with a track record of playing in a league not too dissimilar in standard to the SPFL. The Greek league, in fact, there's more decent teams in there than the SPFL. And he came with Jota numbers. He's came with Jota numbers for last season. Double figures goals, double figures assists. I think this is someone who's coming, as I like to use the term, oven ready. I'm excited to see what he does in a Celtic jersey.
Aye. No, definitely. I mean, we know how the last Greek signing we got for the Greek league done at Celtic, Giakoumakis. So I mean, for Palma, I think he's a good player. I really do, and I'm excited to see his film to go along on Saturday and see him. And I think in terms of Yang, like you were saying there, I watched him against St Johnstone, and I think he's one of these players that can get you off your seat, even though I'll not be getting off mine. But I think in terms of Yang, I mean, I think when you look at him, he looks kind of raw, but he also looks as if he's got a bit of trickery about him as well, and he can get by a man. And it's something that I think is something that see me going to Europe. I think he can be a very vital player for us as well. I think sometimes we forget as well that these guys are coming from different countries. They need to settle in. I think once Yang settles in a few weeks, he'll be a very good player for us. I've got no doubt in it.
Yeah, no, me too. And here's another one for putting you on the spot today.
All right.
Palma, will he be the first player that we've ever seen play for Celtic wearing braces?
I feel like I've seen somebody else wear braces, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just...
That's not a dig, by the way, before anyone thinks I'm picking on him. It's just
there has to be another somewhere. There has to be.
Can I think of another player that's worn braces, in his teeth, Regan? I don't mean like braces to keep his trousers up, you know what I mean?
I've seen somebody with braids in their hair, but no braces, no.
That's one for the archives.
Braces, no, that's just a gum shield.
Gum shield.
He just wears a gum shield.
But yeah, wait. CJ, I think he's got a winner. KT was wearing braces when he first came out of the Celtic team. He's right. He is right. Definitely, I can envision it now. Aye, Kieran Tierney, when he first broke in under Ronnie Dyler, he definitely had braces on his teeth. So Palma joins an elite club. There you go.
And the braces club.
I like it. It's just something I noticed. It's not, as I say, I'm not picking on him for it in the slightest. It's just I was trying to cast my mind back. Anyone else? I was also going to say, what was I going to say about the set pieces thing? Yes, we'll wind up the show now. But with regards to set pieces, you need to remember, just because it might not be as in vogue in terms of everyone wants the perfect goal these days, the perfect team goal, work for the back, triangular passes the whole way up, cut back, tapping, a bit FIFA-esque in the end. Listen, set pieces are a weapon Celtic have not utilised since Brendan's first era. I think it was only under Lenny. And again, you get accused of dinosaur rather than it just being another way to skin a cat, Phil. There are many of them. Yeah. And I think it was one that Lenny wasn't afraid to utilise. You think of big Julien Hamden, you think of Julien against Lazio. You know, they're the only times you can think of really where the set pieces became proper effective. There was someone putting in the stats. I think it might have been Big CJ again. He's on a roll today. He's trying to compete with Regan for man of the match. And I think he said as well that you know, the 19 corners against St Johnstone. It's the type of game. That was the type of game where the set piece factor really should be coming into play. Whether it be Palma, whether it be someone else needs to step up with regards to that. We should be scoring more goals from corner kicks. We should be scoring more goals direct from set pieces. We should be making the most, because it's not like we don't get plenty of dead balls in and around opposition goal mouths. We get plenty full, don't we?
Oh God, it's I know that what you're saying there about, like, you know, people want to score the perfect goal, and there are fans out there, you know, that turn their nose up at certain types of football. But see if the ball ends up in the back of the net and it's your team that's scoring it, you really don't care how it gets there. You know, and it's something that we need to utilise, because we are a dominant team in this country. Majority of games we've got dominant possession, and set pieces as well. And if we're not doing anything with them, then what is the point? You know, it's like we need to have a more consistent delivery from that, a better plan, and, you know, set piece movement and stuff like that, to make sure that we are making the most of them. Because it was right what CJ said. That is a type of game. A 0-0 draw with St Johnstone, you can't break them down in open play, where you'd be looking to try and do it that way. And there's no point if we're just going to hit the first man every single time. So it's going to be a huge thing going forward. To say Palma, from the signs that we've seen in the YouTube videos and that, I know you shouldn't always judge it on YouTube videos, but you know, you see the amount of free kicks and stuff in those videos, and you go, well, he's obviously got a good knack of scoring or doing things from dead ball situations. So you'd like to think that can adapt to corners and free kicks out wide. Because we've got enough we've got tall players at the back, like, you know, Lagerbielke and Carter Vickers come up for corners and stuff like that. So you want to try and get the ball on their head, and obviously improve our chances of scoring there.
Bernardo.
I
think that's another one. Now the hurdle, Regan, if you like, of Ibrox has been, you know, jumped with relative ease. And a Brendan masterclass. Suddenly that window again, you know, I've criticised big style, but we've now got to just look at what we have got and go, I'm excited to see Bernardo. This is a £6.5 million player from Benfica, Portuguese under-21 international. Well, the last one of those we signed on a loan to buy for £6.5 million from the exact same club with Portugal under-21 caps in them. Did not do badly. In fact, we've just panicked there all summer about replacing him after selling him for £25 million. Bernardo's one that's went right under the radar, pal. He's another one to come in, and we just don't know what we're going to get, yes, except that on the face of it, why not be excited about what he brings to the table as well?
I am looking forward to seeing him. And I think he can add a lot. Like if he's playing attacking midfielder, he can maybe let McGregor move forward a bit, and because I think that's what's been lacking. See, when Scott Brown was here first, Scott Brown was the anchor, and then McGregor would move forward a little bit. I think if Bernardo's playing, and then McGregor can move forward a little bit and see what we can do, and I think another interesting player
somewhere in the live chat, Brown Warrior is already typing double pivot. I guarantee it. Aren't you, Brown? I see it. He's taking a double pivot. It'll be a double pivot.
Another thing that I seen was that Celtic got this player from Jota's agent again. So clearly there's been a bit of Jota's agent speaking to Celtic again and saying, look, this player's good. Possibly you could get him. So I think that's good networking from Celtic as well. Because Well, like you said, there was so we know how Jota worked out. So this guy, if this guy is half as good as Jota, then we're definitely got a player in our hands.
Hmm.
And what I know, I went on about the transfer window, but that was only because I wanted to see the come improve.
Of
But
course, mate, I was the same.
I'm hoping that now the dust is settled, like you said, the Ibrox thing is away. We got the 3 points. Hopefully now we can settle down and we can see the squad do well.
Double pivot. It's flying. Anyway, that was a good wee Sunday blether. Thank you for blethering with me. Everyone in the live chat, have a brilliant Sunday. It's only 20 to 1. You've got plenty of it left.
Yes,
Any
indeed.
plans for the rest of the day? Regan, I know you'll be out partying as usual, but Phil, you up to anything?
No, nothing planned today. Maybe
Nice and easy,
maybe
mate.
go to the gym. Maybe I don't know, but I've been in a bit of a big gym routine recently, so I've got to try and get 4 sessions in for my next weigh-in. So I'll either do 4 days in a row, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or I might even go the day, so I could take a day off through the week. But that might be one of my things to do today. Other than that, no, nothing else major planned.
Some people will be glad, Russell, but I'll not be on next Sunday.
What?
What?
Wait now. You decide to tell me live, so I can't give you a row.
I need to tell you live. How you doing? No, I'm going down to see Everton play. I'm just fancy going down to see
Ooh.
something. So
You go to
Ah.
Goodison Park.
I'm going to Goodison next Sunday.
Yeah. Have you been before?
No, never been. No.
I've been. Aye, brilliant. I was in
Good old school stadium there.
Yeah, Gladys Road end. I was in right under. It was like right under the bricks, under the stand above it. The atmosphere was great. It's
Aye,
it's a full, big, decent fan zone around the ground, and it's kind of like right on the street as well. It's mad. But I thoroughly enjoyed it.
I'm looking forward to it. It'll be good.
Nice
Who are
one.
they playing?
They're playing Arsenal.
Oh,
Right, well, that will be good. You
4:30.
hate Arsenal, don't you?
Aye, 4:30 on the Sunday. So that'll be.
Oh, is it the Sky Live game as well?
It is, aye.
You're a wee rascal. You get about, mate. You get about. Well, we'll maybe give you a wee shout for some live coverage from Liverpool, mate. You never know, mate. We'll get one of those muffs. No laughing at the back. We'll get one of those muffs for the microphones. You know what I mean? We'll get Boise Bus put on and we can have you reporting.
Aye, good one.
Reporting from around the grounds across the UK, Regan. That'll be the next step for the channel. Don't you worry, pal. Anyway, everyone, enjoy your Sunday. I'm away to watch some Portugal under 21 footage. See ya.
yeah.